Anne, Princess Royal and Princess of Orange, was the second child and eldest daughter of King George II of Great Britain and his consort, Caroline of Ansbach. She was the spouse of William IV, Prince of Orange, the first hereditary stadtholder of the Netherlands. Princess Anne was the second daughter of a British sovereign to hold the title Princess Royal. She was Regent of the Netherlands from 1751 until her death in 1759, exercising extensive powers on behalf of her son William V. Because of her English upbringing and family connections, she was known as an Anglophile, despite being unable to convince the Dutch Republic to enter the 7 Years' War on the side of the British. Early life: Anne was born at Herrenhausen Palace, Hanover, 5 years before her paternal grandfather, Elector George Louis, succeeded to the British throne as George, as she was christened shortly after birth at Herrenhausen Palace. She was named after her paternal grandfather's second cousin Anne, Queen of Great Britain. She learned German, French and English, and was taught music by Georg Friedrich Hartkaranzendel. Hartkaranzendel did not like teaching, but said he would make the only exception for Anne, flower of princesses. She remained a lifelong supporter, attending his operas and subscribing to his music. She contracted and survived smallpox in 1720, and 2 years later her mother helped to popularize the practice of variolation, which had been witnessed by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu and Charles Maitland in Constantinople. At the direction of Caroline, 6 prisoners condemned to death were offered the chance to undergo variolation instead of execution. They all survived, as did 6 orphan children given the same treatment as a further test. Convinced of his medical value, the Queen had her 2 younger daughters, Amelia and Caroline, inoculated successfully. Anne's face was scarred by the disease, and she was not considered as pretty as her 2 younger sisters. Princess Royal: on August 30, 1727, George II created his eldest daughter Princess Royal. Charles I first bestowed this title on his eldest daughter, Mary, Princess of Orange, in 1642. However, the title fell from use until the reign of George II. Works: the princess took drawing and painting lessons from Herman van der Midge and made a self-portrait of herself in 1740 that is in the collection of the House of Orange Nassau Historic Collections Trust. She also made a portrait of van der Midge himself while he was at work making portraits of other family members. Marriage: a potential marriage contract between Anne and King Louis XV of France was eventually discarded when the French insisted that Anne convert to Roman Catholicism. On March 25, 1734, in the Chapel Royal at St James's Palace, she married William IV, Prince of Orange. William had a spinal deformity, which affected his appearance, but Anne said she would marry him even if he were a baboon. She ceased to use her British style in favour of the title she gained by marriage. The music played on her wedding, "This Is the Day," was set by Handel to the princess's own words based on Psalms 45 and 118. Handel also composed an operatic entertainment, Parnasso in Festa, in honour of her wedding, which was performed for the first time at the King's Theatre, London, on March 13, 1734, with great success. She quarrelled with her brother, the Prince of Wales, about her choice. William and Anne sailed to Holland after a honeymoon at Kew. Anne soon felt homesick when her husband went on campaign in the Rhineland, and she travelled back to England believing herself to be pregnant. Eventually, her husband and father commanded her to return to Holland. By April 1735, it was clear she was not with child after all. In 1736, she did become pregnant, but the child was stillborn. Regency: when her husband died at the age of 40 in 1751, Anne was appointed regent for her 3-year-old son, Prince William V. She was hard-working, but arrogant and imperious, which made her unpopular. This would help William later in his tough life. The 1750s were years of increasing tension and commercial rivalry between Holland and Britain, which placed her in a difficult position. Later life: she continued to act as regent until her death from dropsy in 1759, at The Hague, Netherlands, when she was replaced by her mother-in-law, Marie-Louise of Hesse-Kassel, and by Duke Louis Ernest of Brunswick-Lauencourt-Neuburg. When she too died, Anne's daughter, Carolina, was made regent until William V turned 18 in 1766. Princess Anne, Maryland is named for her. Arms: on January 31, 1719, as a grandchild of the sovereign, Anne was granted use of the arms of the realm, differenced by a label argent of 5 points, each bearing a cross gules. On August 30, 1727, as a child of the sovereign, Anne's difference changed to a label argent of 3 points, each bearing a cross gules. Issue: the Prince and Princess of Orange-Nassau had a stillborn son, in 1735. Their other children were: Ancestors. References: Van der Kist, John George II and Queen Caroline. Stroud, Gloucestershire, Sutton Publishing. ISBN 0-7509-1321-5.